This is Faith in Your Recovery. Welcome to the battle. When you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, we're here for you and with you. I'm your host, Randy Davis, a former pastor, founder, and executive director of A Better Life, Brianna's Hope. We're a participant-driven, faith-based, and compassion-filled support and recovery movement for those battling the battle with substance use disorder/addiction. We're glad you're with us today. We look forward to sharing with you, and we recognize your time is a precious commodity, and for you to make the choice to share with us, that means a lot. I have a special guest with me today, someone I've known quite a few years, Dan Watson. Dan, I understand you're a Green Bay Packer fan, yes?
Of course.
Of course.
Everybody knows that.
How far back does that go? Who's a couple of your favorites from the history of the Pack?
Oh, shoot. I've been a Packer fan all my life, and I was born in Green Bay in 1961, so that's kind of why I'm a Packer fan.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was asking Siri questions coming over here today about the Pack, and they go back to about the days that you were born, okay?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Certainly Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr, and I remember an incredible linebacker by the name of Ray Nitschke.
Yes.
You know, he didn't look intimidating, but on the field, he would eat you alive. And, there was a guy named Paul Hornung, I think, wasn't there?
Yep.
And
Notre Dame boy.
Notre Dame, yeah.
Yep.
And then, of course, there was that frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity about 4 years ago to tour the stadium there. That was
awesome.
An incredible experience for me.
Yep.
Well, we're not going to hold it against you that you're a cheesehead.
I'm a cheesehead, yes.
Yeah. So, listen, what I'd like for you to do to begin with is just take a few moments here and share with us some of your life experiences, maybe a little bit of your professional resume, so our listeners can get to know you off the top.
Okay. I was raised mostly in Dunkirk. Mom and Dad moved into Delaware County in 1967. I graduated from Delta High School. Went to college at Tri-State University in Angola and got my Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering. And went to work out of college, got my engineering degree, went to work for NDOT down in Indianapolis. I worked 5 years for NDOT, downtown Indianapolis. I had the opportunity to go back to Jay County. One of the county commissioners at the time was a good friend of mine and talked me into coming back to Jay County. So in 1989, I took the job as county engineer and held that position up until I retired from there the December of last year and went to work for a private engineering firm in Indianapolis, and I'm just having a ball.
Ah, awesome.
Also been involved in government. Was spent 9 years on the city council in Dunkirk, 4 years as mayor, and I'm still currently on the board of works with Mayor Jack Robbins. Yes.
That's great. It's my understanding Dunkirk's a community of about 2,200 people,
right,
depending on who's home, right? Yeah. And it's a proud community with rich history in the glass industry, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's employed a lot of people through there. Well, listen, folks, I want you to know as we get deeper into this today, it's not going to be filled with a lot of warm fuzzies. It's going to touch on some very tender moments and times. We believe it's going to be drawing you, and I know it's going to be on Dan as he shares with us some of the family experiences and the losses and the challenges that he's been through. But as I reflect back, Dan, I think maybe our first connection was my coaching career at West J. when Justin played 7th grade football, your son, then again in the 8th grade.
Yes.
I'm sure we saw each other, but didn't connect until then. So that was a neat time. Your father of 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you introduce us to all 3 of the kids, please?
Justin was the oldest, and then I have a daughter, Jessica. She is 31, and I have a son, Jaden, is just turned 16 this summer.
Okay, and you're married, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My wife, Kelly. Yep.
Awesome.
Been married for 35 years.
35 years. Yep. That's a pretty good batting average. Okay. We'll take that. Well, In a moment, we're going to dig in just a little bit deeper to some of those experiences, and I thought the way we might do that is to begin by just having you, in your own words, speak about each one of your kids individually. What has been special about them, what's made them unique, their challenges, their struggles, their victories as life has played out. So folks, just we know you're going to be able to relate to this as far as either you've had the misfortune in your life of some of what Dan's going to share, or someone who has. So Dan, just go ahead if you want to hear it. Start us off with a little of Justin's story, okay?
Okay, Justin was a smart kid. Always got good grades in school. Played football, played basketball. I coached him in Little League. He played Little League all through. Was very involved. I think he didn't really know what he wanted to do when he got out of school, so he ended up enlisting in the Army, which, I think it was a good fit for him because he was kind of needed a direction, and did real well in the Army. I think the proudest day of my life was when he graduated basic training and we went out to that ceremony, and it was just really it was a proud day.
Where was that, Dan?
Well, he was stationed. His basic training was in South Carolina.
Okay.
And then he was stationed in Missouri. That's where he ended up being stationed at. When he got out of the Army, he come home and wasn't really sure what he wanted to do. I know he had a few odd jobs here and there. He took to working as a millwright, and he really liked it. And so he learned how to weld and do all that kind of stuff. And we thought he found his way. He met a girl, Lindsay Cochran, and they got together, and probably the proudest day of his life was when his son was born. His son is now 4. And then I need to talk about, he passed away on the 22nd of August in 2017. It was 2 weeks after his son was born and a week before his 31st birthday. So went from being one of the proudest days of my life to one of the hardest days of my life.
Unimaginable.
Obviously.
I can't, there's no way I can say I know what you're thinking or what you're feeling because I haven't been there.
Mm-hmm. Jessica, my second child, she was another one. She's very smart, very athletic, played softball, basketball, you name it. She did all that. She got a scholarship to go to Ball State, and she just fell into the whole addiction thing. She has probably spent a majority of the last 10 years in and out of jail or prison, or it's been really hard. And Jaden, my youngest, he's completely different from both of them. He's smart. He's not real social. He doesn't do sports. He doesn't he's just not a real sociable person, but he's very smart. Evidently God knew what he was doing when he gave Kelly and I Jaden that late in our life, because I don't know what we would do without him. He's just been a blessing.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit more about how you remember and some of the first, visuals or ideas you had recognizing Justin was headed toward that addiction direction, please.
I don't think I saw it as much with Justin as I did with Jess. I knew that he was using. I knew he had some issues, but I didn't think that he had the problem as bad as Jessica did. Of course, he wasn't home much because like I said, he was in the Army. He wasn't living at home, so I guess I didn't see it as much as I did with Jess. And I didn't really know where his mind was. I have a letter. Justin wrote everything down. he constantly kept a journal. So, and I did have a letter. I would, if you mind, I'd just read it.
Oh, we'd love
it'll
to.
give you an idea of what his mindset was. And this was written on August the 11th, so it would have been right after his son was born and before he passed away. So I'll just read it real quick, and it'll kind of give you a feel for what.
Awesome.
So he's talking about his biggest priority now, and it says, it still blows my mind that I'm a father. I have a son. I never thought that my entire world, along with any and every single little thought or feeling of importance, could be wrapped up in one little tiny guy that makes me melt every time those blue eyes open and look up at me. I know in my heart and soul that I'll never fail him. I'll always stand behind him, even if he's wrong. It's my job. No, it is my honor to be a father to that amazing little boy. It's just as much an honor that I've been given the chance over the past 3.5 years to be a father figure to Lily, who is Lindsay's daughter. She really is awesome and will no doubt succeed in her lifetime. I know this because her mother instilled the wisdom and the fight she needs. I just hope I can impact that boy's life the same and give him every piece of knowledge I possibly can, as well as any other tool he might need in life. That is what my old man, my hero, my dad gave me. He gave me so much more than just that. He devoted everything he had into making life for Jess and me easier, or at the very least, bearable. Mom wasn't absent in all this either. She was Dad's teammate, and together they did more than right by Jess and myself. Now they have the chance to do it again with Jaden. The one thing that still stumps me is how Jess ended up in prison for the better part of her 20s, and how I ended up turning into the dirtbag heroin addict that I was. I'm so relieved to have left that part of me behind. I never once thought I could ever become someone so ugly inside and out. It took a long time and a journey down a painful road, but it definitely helped shape me into someone much stronger than I was before. That's why I don't stress as much about my issue now. I know that I can and will overcome it in the end. And in all reality, the end should have been August 6th, the day my son was born. For 5 days, everything was perfect. I didn't have any thoughts or cravings. Then again, I never really do. I think it has to have control over me for that type of mental state to be present. For the time being, I remain in control. I'm just trying to break the habit before the tables turn and I succumb to the emptiness and the darkness overwhelms me. I'm starting to think that maybe my quarrel with the big guns upstairs should be resolved. I think I've kept a grudge long enough, not to mention the sins I've been piling up. Could really use several confession sessions. I just hope I can say enough Hail Mary and Our Father prayers to lessen the load. It's obvious we're Catholic, so you know that. I actually remember not ever wanting to get up and go to church, but I always felt better after going. I mean, like my complete heart, mind, and soul, body and soul felt better. I think I need some churching because I've been sinning. Sunday, August 13th at St. Mary's is where I'm going to be. I still remember Mass starts at 10:30 sharp. I already feel better. Got to go. Little sister is coming for some of my Army uniform patches and the first challenge coin I ever earned that I usually have on me at all times. It's going to be a great night. So that was that was 11 days before he passed away.
So did you find that letter? Was they given to you before that? How'd you come across that letter? Because that's gold.
They found it when they found him. He had went to Cincinnati. He was going to start a new job. So he'd driven down the day before, and he had to do a drug screen, which he passed his drug screen, and he was supposed to start that morning, the 22nd. And I remember trying to call him that morning to wish him luck, and on his first day, and it was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock that morning. The sheriff, Dwayne Ford, came into my office at the highway garage and said, "We found Jaden." I said, "Well, what do you mean you found Jaden?" And that's when he told me, and I didn't. Ooh, that was rough.
You mean Justin with that,
Justin,
right? Yeah, just for their clarity.
Yeah. And,
no problem.
you know, I says, "What do you mean you found him?" Well, they found him in his hotel room. He'd OD'd. And so this was the letter and stuff he had all that stuff with him, you know, because like I said, he'd kept a journal. And so, you know, reading that letter, I kind of thought, you know, his mind was he knew that he had a problem, and he was going to fight this thing. And I don't, what happened. I have no clue. We still don't know. We just know that he died of fentanyl overdose, is what it said. So, yeah, it was rough. It still is. It's hard to.
You don't quickly get over that kind of pain, and I don't know for sure if you ever completely get over it.
I don't
Okay,
think so.
Hopefully time lessens some of it, but that kind of a tragic loss hangs with you. In the letter, there's a statement I picked up on. He referred to himself as a dirtbag addict.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever feel that toward him?
No. Not at all.
What did you feel toward him, even amidst the struggle?
He was my son. I can't. It's a struggle. I understand that now more than ever, that it's not just something. I smoke cigarettes. It's an addiction. It's tough. But how this is just gets a hold of you, that you'll do anything if the birth of your son, and that kind of thing. And obviously he had that in his mind. If that doesn't, that's not even enough to change you, the feeling that you fall into, and reading this letter, that, you fall into this emptiness and this, I don't know. I don't know that feeling.
Yeah.
And I guess unless you're an addict, you probably don't.
There's no way I could. Okay, I hear it. I listen to it. I understand it. But I've certainly not lived it. That desperation to get away from it, and yet it just pulls you back so strongly and just sucks you in so much deeper each time. How did you and Kelly approach things, Dan, amidst his, addiction struggles? What was your plan?
Well, he had talked to his mother about getting help, and we were going to help him. I don't know, we said we would do whatever it took. Because he wanted to go get help. And like I said, I thought he had it under control, and when he was ready, he would go. That day obviously never came. But the signs were there. I see him all the time. I see him with Jessica all the time.
So has your hindsight with Justin's experience helped you see more clearly with Jess's challenges?
Probably. But Jess had issues before. I think she had issues way before Justin did. I think she had her problems before Justin, and she, like I said, she started. It was the people that she hung out with, and the drugs that were there, and she got involved in drugs when she was, I think, just out of high school, maybe when she was still in high school. I said she got into trouble. Her first stint, I think she did, was for dealing. She had an informant that was supposedly a friend of hers that she sold a couple pills to, or gave a couple pills to anyway. That ended up costing her, I think they sentenced her to 12 years for that. And she had to do 8, or they sentenced her to 12, reduced it to 8. So she had to do 4 years, which she did. And then, like I said, she was back. She's been back in prison. She's currently sitting in the Jay County Jail right now, so.
Amidst this, and prior to Justin's death, what was the hardest thing, do you think, for you and Kelly?
Knowing that we couldn't, I guess I hear people, and I think that was the stigma before. It's poor people that get addicted, and it's not, well-to-do people. And I'm not saying we're well-to-do by any means, but our kids never needed anything. We took care of our kids. They had whatever they needed. They had a good education. We raised them the right way. I don't know where I feel like maybe if there's one thing that we regret now is what did we do wrong, and we don't know. And you keep thinking that what could we have done different? What could we have done different? And I just don't know. I don't know what we could have done different.
if you'd have known, you'd have done it, right? If you'd have thought this is going to work, you'd have left work to get it done. I know you that well, and I know how much you love your kids and your family with all of that. So at Justin's passing, where were you guys relationally? Were you at a good place?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because there are those families who aren't at that.
Yeah, we were. I mean, like I said,
point.
we were. Everybody was. It was an exciting time. Like I said, he just had a baby, and we were all. Everybody was excited, and he was getting ready to start a new job. And I don't know if it was just all those things just were too overwhelming. I just don't know. I don't know in his mind what caused him to do that one last time, but. I think that everything. I think we were all in a good place.
Yeah. Well, you have to be filled, and you kind of referred to it with the woulda, coulda, shouldas, but we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
How have you guys managed to heal to this point? I'm not suggesting you're totally healed. I know better. But what has gotten you through to this point dealing with the passing of Justin and Jess with her challenges and addiction issues?
Probably Jaden. Like I said, he's been such a blessing. Our two grandbabies, we got Justin's and then we got Jess's. And we watch Jess's baby 2 or 3, 4 days a week, and Kelly's watching Jameson, which is Justin's son. She's watching him every day, so Lindsay could go back to work. So Kelly actually retired in July of this year, so she could spend time with the grandkids, and so that I think helps get us through because we see Jameson. And we see Justin. Obviously, there's so much alike, and the same way with Jess. And I think the hardest thing is, and it's with Jess. I think the biggest problem I have is, one thing that I've noticed with most addicts that I've heard about, and the feelings and the situations we've had is. They're always in denial, and they will never admit that they're using. They say, no, that's not mine. No, I didn't do that. No. One thing Kelly and we know, just being around Jess for her life, we know when she's using, when she's on something, she'll deny it every time, no matter what. You could find her with a needle stuck in her arm, and she'd say, that's not mine. I didn't put that there. I mean, that's just... And so to try to help somebody, because we've tried to get Jess, we've taken her to different places. She gets past the first day or two and gets to where she's, and then she'll leave. You can't force them to go because obviously she's 30 years old. She can do whatever she wants. All you can do is try to encourage them to go, but it's until they admit they have a problem, and if they're still in denial and they will not admit they have a problem, I don't think it'll change.
They have to own it.
They have to, and we'll do anything for her, but getting them to admit that they have a problem, and that's the first step, and we just can't get to that point with Jess.
Okay,
I mean it's hard.
Going back again to that statement of Justin's where he's called himself a dirtbag addict. Did you ever feel from the community or society, other than the understood stigma, did you ever feel like people looked down on him or you guys because of that addiction issue, or that it was what defined his life or even Jess's life?
I don't think with him, because like I said, I don't know that there's that many people that actually knew that he had a problem. Jess, on the other hand, is pretty much everybody's aware of it. I think 10 years ago it would have been that way. I don't think it's that way anymore. I know so many people that have had the same problem, that have went through that have faced the same thing, and they're good kids. Good, they were brought up right. They just fell into this addiction.
They made bad choices.
How I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I know everybody's trying. Probably the one thing I feel bad about, and probably the reason I'm such a believer in Brianna's Hope and what you guys are doing, but and I want to get I so want to get involved, but my feeling is, how can I help anybody when I was not even able to help my own son? You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying, but you have a knowledge and an understanding that most people, pardon me, on the street or in their homes do not have, because you have been there and done that, and you're feeling the scars of their choices. So, just like you're doing here today by letting people know what your experience was about, it's going to give them an opportunity to release some of their feelings and say, somebody gets it. You're somebody who gets it. You may not be able to help that struggler, but you may help that struggler's parents more than you realize. So I can certainly see the positivity in that. So that kind of leads to this thought. Do you feel like you have had the freedom from those in the community and around about to talk about Justin's life in a positive way, to talk about Jess in a positive way? I'm not questioning any of that with Jaden, because we know that's a different story. Or do you feel like you've had to kind of hold it in?
Not really. We don't.
Good.
We don't hold it in. I mean,
I've never known you to hold anything in, okay?
Yeah, it is.
You're straightforward.
It is what it is. I mean, if people accept it, fine. If they don't accept it, fine. I mean, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing Kelly can do to change what happened. I think we've got enough friends around that understand what we went through, and it helps a lot getting through it. Because there's so many kids that Justin and Jess grew up with that have been through this and that have done, it's happened to other people. So it's not just us. And I think that's what we realize. This is not just an isolated incident. This is
by no means.
This is a crisis, and it affects everybody. Jay County's not a big county, but you can't hardly find anybody that has not been affected directly by this.
I go to a church to speak. I go to a club, group, or organization, usually open up with the question, how many of you here have a family member, know someone that struggles with addiction? And the hands that don't go up need to move the rock they're living in.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we've all been impacted by it, exactly as you're saying there. So from your experiences, what would you like for others that might be walking in your shoes to know, or what kind of advice might you be able to give them, Dan?
First of all, I don't think you can't judge them, because, like I said, I think it's beyond their control. You have to try to help them all you can, and there again, you can only do so much if they aren't willing to help, to get the help. But because you don't know what it's like. None of us know what it's like that haven't been there. All you can do is be there for your kids. Try to help them all you can. If there's questions, if you have questions or you think that your kid might be involved in drugs, chances are they are. They are. I mean,
good way to put it.
I think they are. I mean, if you have any doubts, if you have any, if you see any signs or you have any doubt, they probably are using drugs. I don't know.
I would think you would be better off to take for granted they are and be wrong than to find out the other way that you could have been right. So, yes.
And we have, we've went from not just cocaine and heroin and meth to this fentanyl that they're putting in everything that'll kill you. And
in a heartbeat.
It just blows my mind that's taken over like it has in these, these addicts, and you would think, gosh, I can't do this anymore because there could be a chance I could get, some of this stuff, and but they don't think past that next high. I don't think to realize what the outcome could be.
And I think part of it's they want to flirt with that danger of the possibility. It's like instead of driving 90, you drive 95.
Maybe.
You go up to that next level.
Maybe.
Yes.
It's a scary thing.
Can you think of anything you'd like to address, or was there a question that you'd like to be asked to, to be able to help you with this as you help others by sharing all this, Dan?
I don't know. I guess, like I said, I realize that I'm not alone. I realize I'm not alone. I know there's a lot of people in there that are going through the same thing, that have went through the same thing. And there's a lot more that are going to go through the same thing, because this isn't going to stop overnight. I don't know. I think the biggest issues, is, and I know they're trying to work on it, is trying to get treatment, local treatment, because, we send our kids off to Fort Wayne or Indianapolis, and, if we had a local facility, maybe it would help. I know there's been a lot of talk of doing something like that, but these kids, and then, like I said, they hear the horror stories from the from the people that have been to these places, and it doesn't make them want to go. So I think a facility that welcomes people, welcomes addicts in, and that actually works with the addicts. I don't think the court-mandated treatments work because they're going because they're forced to go. It's still, the only way in my feeling, the only way the treatment's going to work is if the addict decides it's time, I want to do this, and does it.
Yes.
I think we're wasting our time when the court orders these addicts to go to treatment because they're going because they're forced to go. And you're trying to force somebody to do something they don't want to do.
Exactly.
I wish I knew what the answer was. I really do.
If we did, we wouldn't be in here today,
no,
would we?
Exactly. It's scary to think that how many of them are out there, and
the struggle's becoming greater, unfortunately.
And they just got to realize they're not alone either. But there again, do they feel that way, Justin? Does he felt like he was, the way he felt? I mean, I hate to think that the kids that are using drugs feel that way. I understand that they made a bad choice, and it's not just as easy as, okay, I made a bad choice, I'm not do that anymore. With these drugs, it's like I said, it's an addiction, so they need help.
Yeah, the danger. It can be one and done, unfortunately.
Exactly.
There's no such thing as experimenting with drugs today. No. Mm-hmm. Well, Dan, before we get ready to change gears just a little, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I don't know. This is the first time I've really talked to anybody about this, so it's kind of new to me, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be prepared for this. So if it helps, it helps. I mean, that's all we can try to do.
And you have tried. Thank you for making yourself vulnerable like this, your family vulnerable, for speaking the truth. I certainly have not known everything you've shared. I've known a lot of it. We've had a lot of experiences together. But for you to step up here and to share this will definitely, it's going to touch lives, and I believe even change and save lives.
I hope.
So on behalf of Faith in Your Recovery and A Better Life, Brianna's Hope, thank you for joining us. And we want you to know you can find our show on Spotify, Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, and Google Podcast. If you like our show, please leave a 5-star review. Click like, download, and subscribe. It can make a big difference for our future, and I hope the difference in our future makes a difference in the future of those who are turning into our episodes. So to close, don't give up on yourself and don't give in to the urge. Your answer, your healing, Your recovery may be just around the next corner, or maybe even in our next episode. Have faith in your recovery by having faith in yourself, your journey, and above all, God. Believe and keep fighting the battle. Thank you.